Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to the class. So I hope you have gone through the previous lesson that I put up. आज चाहिँ हामी will move on with what we were talking yesterday. At the end of the class, we were talking about biodiversity. This biodiversity, we said yesterday, the estimates up to 7 million species, and among them around 1.5 million species have been described so far. But we also said towards the end of the class that this 5.5 million species which has not been yet described are being lost because of extinction. Now, there's so much of biodiversity in the world. यति सारो biodiversity छ, यति सारो diversity of living organisms, and in every country, in every province, every place, one particular organism has many different names in many different languages. For example, okay, so like for example, potato may have more than 1,000 different names all over the world. So त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ okay, we need to have a common name. Okay, for a particular organism we need to have one standardized name, otherwise it would create a lot of confusion. So if we have a common name, a scientific name, then whenever we use that word or a name, then immediately we come to know that the person is talking about this particular organism. So therefore there is a need for identifying the organism, classifying the organism, and also giving the organism a proper name. And this naming of an organism in a scientific manner, that is known as nomenclature. So giving a scientific name to an organism is known as nomenclature, and then this nomenclature, the name is standardized, which means that this name will be used all over the world to denote to a particular species. Okay, so there should be one name for one organism which is universal throughout the world. So that is what is called standardization. But another thing, in order to give a proper nomenclature to an organism, we need to first look at it and find out its features, its characteristics, internal, external characteristics. So that is known as identification. We need to describe it correctly, and then we will show what kind of structures it has, what is the mode of reproduction, what is the type of the flower, how many petals, how many sepals. All these details will be worked out, and so this is known as identification. Then only we can go for nomenclature. So giving a scientific name to a particular organism is not anyone's play. So it is all done by universally agreed principles and criteria. So there is a code for botanical nomenclature that is known as abbreviated as ICBN. So the scientists all over the world, the botanists who deal with plants all over the world, they get together and then they decide upon a name of a particular plant. So that is done by International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, ICBN. Similarly, for naming animals, there is International Code for Zoological Nomenclature, that is ICZN. So then it ensures that every organism has, each organism has one particular name, only one name. There will not be two names for the same organism. So that is done by ICBN and ICZN. So biologists all over the world, they have agreed upon certain principles in naming an organism. So this is known as scientific naming. So scientific naming of an organism, हामीले हेर्यो भने चाहिँ scientific name मा चाहिँ there are two parts in a scientific name, and this is known as binomial nomenclature. Okay, so this binomial nomenclature was introduced by Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, so this is very important. Carolus Linnaeus introduced binomial nomenclature. Now, binomial nomenclature भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ what we understand here, I said there are two parts in a given name. भन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ एउटा बायोलोजिकल नेममा चाहिँ दुईटा पार्ट हुन्छ. one is the generic name, the other one is specific epithet. Okay, generic name, for example here you can see that this is Mangifera indica. Okay, Mangifera indica, this is a scientific name for mango. Okay, so त्यस्तै प्रकारले Artemisia vulgaris scientific name for तितेपाती, हाम्रो कमन प्लान्ट यहाँ हामी पाउँछौ. तितेपाती तिमीहरूले चिन्छौ. Alnus nepalensis, हामी उत्तिस ट्री, most of you will know this. Okay, so यहाँ हेर्यो भने चाहिँ there are two parts in this scientific name. Okay, so the first part is known as generic name and the second part is known as specific epithet, or it refers to the species. कुन चाहिँ species को organism भनेर it is denoted by the specific epithet. Now, there are certain rules for nomenclature. In order to give a scientific name, we need to follow certain principles. So these are the rules of nomenclature. The first rule is biological names are generally in Latin language and written in italics. Okay, so it is derived from Latin and written in italics. The second principle or rule, the first word in a biological name represents the genus. The first word again हामी भन्दै थियो Mangifera, that denotes the genus, and the second word denotes the specific epithet, that is species. जस्तो यहाँ हामीले हेर्यो भने Mangifera indica. Okay, indica चाहिँ के भयो, species भयो. Okay, Mangifera चाहिँ के भयो, generic name or name of the genus, and indica is the species. Okay, so this is it. The third rule, both the words, okay, generic name as well as specific name, when handwritten, when we are writing with our hand or pen or pencil, whatever, then they are separately underlined. If you see this scientific name again, come back to this, Mangifera indica. So I have under, actually this is a name for the every organism name, or like bichma gap gareko छु for your understanding. Okay, so Mangifera indica is a scientific name for mango, and this, because this is handwritten, it is underlined, and this underlining should also be done separately. Continuous underline garnu huँदैन, so you should not be making that mistake while writing a scientific name. And when the scientific name is in the printed form, suppose books ko form ma छ भने चाहिँ, then it should be written in italics. Okay, italics मा हुनुपर्छ, अलिकति डाकन गरेको हुन्छ, हामी बुझिहाल्छौँ यो चाहिँ के रहेछ. अन्डरलाइन नगरे पनि italics मा हुन्छ र त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ हामी बुझ्छौँ कि यो चाहिँ के हो, scientific name रहेछ, and it also denotes its Latin origin. Another very important rule about a scientific name, writing a scientific name, is whenever we write a scientific name, the generic name, see this is generic name, and the generic name starts with a capital letter, like Mangifera, this M is capital, and specific epithet, the name of the species, starts with small letters, so I is small. So similarly, Artemisia, A capital, vulgaris, V small, Alnus, A capital, nepalensis, N small. So यसरी हामीले लेख्नु पर्छ. We should not write capital letters, okay, in the when we start the writing the name of the species. Also, if you see here, I have written Mangifera indica Lin. Okay, Lin भनेपछि यो Lin comes from the word name Linnaeus. So it was described by Linnaeus, Carolus Linnaeus. त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ हामीले we can write LINN. So Mangifera indica Lin भन्दा चाहिँ हामीले त्यो बुझ्छौँ है. Similarly, Pisum sativum is a scientific name of the common garden pea. So I hope till now everything is clear. So now we'll move on to the next topic, that is classification. The term classification comes from the word classify or classifying. Okay, so we see so much of diversity, as we already said, संसारभरि यति थुप्रो biological diversity छ that it is not possible for us to study all these organisms, so much of diverse organisms, you know, in an haphazard way. So we should have a universally accepted system in which we can study these organisms in a scientific way. So what we do is that we group these organisms into certain categories. यस्तो categories हरु बनाउँछौं by looking at the certain characters internal characters, external characters, or internal and external features of an organism. We group them into different categories or groups. Okay, just to हामी भन्छौँ plants. Whenever we say plants, what comes to our mind? It comes that plants are generally green. Okay, they are rooted in the soil. They perform photosynthesis, so they have flowers like this. So plants भन्ने बित्तिकै a certain picture comes to our mind. Animals भन्ने बित्तिकै we don't think animals to be green with leaves and all these things. Okay, so animals भन्ने बित्तिकै हाम्रो अर्कै picture. So we have certain observable external characteristics based on which we group them into different groups or categories. So यसरी हामीले छुटाउन सक्छ. जस्तो plants, animals, cats, dogs. I have written here cats भन्ने बित्तिकै हाम्रो एउटा certain we have an image in mind. Dogs भन्ने बित्तिकै it has different features, so it is not exactly similar to cats. So wheat and rice, for example, also they are two different species. Obviously they will be having differences. So यसरी हामीले we will categorize, we'll classify the organisms into different categories. Okay. So another very important thing here, if you see this categorization here, I've written plants, animals. So plants and animals ma obviously there will be lot of differences, lot of differences. त्यस्तै प्रकारले हामी यहाँले क्याट्स र डग्स हेर्यो भने दुईटै एनिमल्सहरू हो, तरै पनि यहाँनेरि धेरै डिफरेन्सेसहरू हामी पाउँछौँ है. त्यसै प्रकारले राइस एन्ड व्हीट हेर्यो भने अब यिनीहरू एउटै फ्यामिलीमा पर्छ. when you go higher up you'll find that rice and wheat belongs to the family Poaceae. Okay, that is one plant family. And then तरै पनि यो दुईटामा के छ, डिफरेन्सेसहरू छ. त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ हामी भन्नु सक्छौँ यो राइस र व्हीट एउटा के भन्छ ग्रुपमा पर्छ, एउटा लेभलमा पर्छ भने चाहिँ level, or I have written a term that is known as taxa, which means groups. Okay, त्यहाँबाट एउटा टर्म पनि आउँदैछ taxonomy. Okay, so we are coming to this topic now. So यो राइस र व्हीट एउटा लेभलमा छ भने चाहिँ okay, one level in one hierarchy. Then cats and dogs भने चाहिँ फेरि अलिकति यो दुईटामा सिमिलरिटी, राइस एन्ड व्हीटमा जति सिमिलरिटी छ क्याट्स एन्ड डग्समा अलिक कम्ती छ है सिमिलरिटी. द्याट मिन्स डिफरेन्सेसहरू बेसी छ. प्लान्ट्स एन्ड एनिमल्समा अझै बेसी डिफरेन्सेसहरू छ. सो द्याट मिन्स दे आर डिफरेन्ट ग्रुप्स. ओके, अकर्डिङली we can put them into different groups, which is known as taxa or taxon. Okay, if you see here I have listed out certain taxa or taxon here. So from highest to lowest category, kingdom, okay, we'll come to this, phylum or division, then class, order, family, genus, species. So this is taxon or taxa बाट आएको वर्ड हो. सो हामीले हेर्यो भने अब species, rice को different, there are so many different types of rice. Okay, त्यो चाहिँ एउटा species भित्र आउँछ. अब राइस र व्हीट फेरि अलग अलग दुईटा डिफरेन्ट स्पिसिस हो, त्यो यहाँ आउँछ है. अघि हामीले जुन प्रकारले उ गर्यो है प्लान्ट र एनिमल किङडम अलग अलग छ है, त्यो यो लेभलमा. सो त्यो हायरार्की और लेभल्स आर अल्सो डिफरेन्ट. एनीवे, सो दिस स्टडीज that is done or when organisms are put into different groups, so that can be called as or this process of classification of organisms into different taxa or groups, that can be termed as taxonomy. And this taxonomy is based on certain taxonomic studies are based on certain characteristics, like हामीले organismलाई कसरी हामीले similarities या differences हामी देखाउन सक्छौं भन्दा by looking at its external structure. Okay, external features, कस्तो खालको external appearance, then internal structure, when we cut the body of the organism, plant body or animal body, त्यसको भित्रको tissuesहरु कस्तो छ. Okay, then by looking at the cell, by looking at the process of development, how it develops from young to adult. Okay, and also by studying the ecological information of the organism. Ecological information भन्ने बित्तिकै we are talking about its habitat, that means where it lives, the food habit, okay, the its nature, what time of the day it hunts, for example, if it is in case of animals, like this. So this is ecological information. So based on this we can classify the organism, and we can perform taxonomic studies. Now, when we say taxonomy, your taxonomy bhanne kura chai, it is not new. Human beings, they have been practicing taxonomy since ages and ages. We have been interested in plants and animals. We have been using plants and animals for various purposes like food, for clothing, and shelter, and also for medicinal purposes. Okay, so we have been interested in plants as well as animals and different forms of life since ages. Now, another very important thing here, जुन जहिले हामी ट्याक्सोनोमी भन्दैछौँ त्यो सँगसँगै रिलेटेड अर्को टर्म आउँदैछ, द्याट इज नोन एज सिस्टम्याटिक्स. सिस्टम्याटिक्स कमिङ फ्रम द वर्ड सिस्टम्याटिक. Okay, so systematic arrangement of organisms into certain groups, that is called systematics. And this systematics is derived from the Latin word that is known as systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Okay, so this was initiated by Carolus Linnaeus. This is a new branch, and this branch includes यो चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ के छ यसमा भन्दा चाहिँ first we need to identify the organism, okay, by looking at its features, the characters, internal, external characters. Then after that we will give us nomenclature, that means scientific naming to this plant, okay, or animal, whatever it is, and then we will classify it, we'll put it into certain categories, okay. So whether your plant हो कि animal हो कि या कुन चाहिँ category मा आउँछ, कुन चाहिँ taxon मा आउँछ, कुन चाहिँ level मा आउँछ, so accordingly we'll classify it. And then we'll also evolutionary relationship between organisms is also studied. So this is the new thing in systematics, जुन चाहिँ we are just also trying to establish the relation in terms of evolution, the evolutionary history of an organism. कहाँबाट कहाँ इभल्भ भएर आयो, what were its roots, कुन चाहिँ organisms closely related थियो in terms of when organisms evolved. So they will be placed close to each other in certain groups. So systematics includes therefore identification of an organism, the characteristics, nomenclature of an organism, classification, and evolutionary relationship between organisms. So this is a new branch of study. Now let us revisit this taxonomic categories. अघि जुन चाहिँ मैले भन्दै थिएँ taxon or taxonomic categories, or यसलाई हामी भन्न सक्छौँ rank. Okay, so rank भन्ने बित्तिकै कुन चाहिँ rank मा, species is one rank, genus is another rank or taxon, family is another, order, class, phylum, kingdom, okay, like this. So they are different ranks. So in this case I have arranged this is known as taxonomic categories, and I have arranged this taxonomic categories in a descending order, okay, from higher to lower, from kingdom to species. So सबैभन्दा highest मा हुन्छ kingdom आउँछ, okay, kingdom मा के आउँछ भन्दा animal kingdom, plant kingdom, यस्तो प्रकारले. त्यहाँदेखि अब phylum आउँछ, or division in case of plants, we'll discuss that after some time. त्यसको बादमा class, order, family, genus, species. So you can identify one, you can make a formula. If you see here, you can list out these words K, P, C, O, F, G, S. I want the boys to make one nice interesting sentence and post it in WhatsApp group, so that it will be easy. It should be one one sentence, okay, so that it becomes easy for all of you. So this is from highest to lowest, okay, kingdom to species, lowest to highest भने चाहिँ species to kingdom. Accordingly you will be asked to arrange organisms in this order in the exams, either in descending order or in ascending order. कुन चाहिँ आउँछ, this terms will be jumbled up and you have to arrange in this particular order. You are descending, यताबाट माथि गयो भने चाहिँ ascending order. So you'll have to do that in the examinations. Now let us come back to the topic. जुन चाहिँ अघि हामीले taxon भन्दै थिए हैन, taxon, what is the highest taxon? That is kingdom. Kingdom भन्ने बित्तिकै animal kingdom, plant kingdom, यसरी हामीले categorize गर्न सक्छ. So यो भयो kingdom. So we are going to discuss one by one the different taxon and also giving certain examples of each taxon. Okay, so we have done with kingdom. Now we move to phylum or division. So when we say phylum, this term is used specifically with animals. So animal kingdom हामीले हेर्यो भने चाहिँ we have so many different phylums. So phylum Chordata, phylum Mollusca, okay, phylum Arthropoda, insects आउँछ, mollusca सिंगाने किराहरू आउँछ, okay, phylum Annelida जुन चाहिँ हाम्रो यो earthwormहरू आउँछ है. यसरी so many different phylums are there in case of animals. Okay, so यो भयो अर्को taxon र phylum लाई नै हामी in case of plants we use the word division. Okay, so division भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब के छ त plant को division भन्दा चाहिँ one is Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, Phanerogamia. So Thallophyta मा चाहिँ organisms or plants here they do not have roots, stems, leaves, कुनै त्यस्तो differentiated हुँदैन. Like for example algae हामी जुन चाहिँ लेउहरू भन्छ पानीमा हामी देख्छौं है. So this is Thallophyta. Then comes Bryophyta. Bryophyta जुन चाहिँ हामी भित्तातिर हरियो हरियो हैन green structures, carpet like structures we find on the walls. Then that is known as Bryophyta. Okay, so यसमा चाहिँ हामी हेर्यो भने चाहिँ it has leaf like structures, it is green in color, it performs photosynthesis, and also it has root like structures. Okay, so very primitive leaf like structures and root like structures. Then अझ higher level मा गयो भने Pteridophyta, or that is also known as ferns. Okay, the roots are well developed, and then leaves are also developed, and also vascular structures are there. त्यहाँनेरि जुन चाहिँ conduct गर्ने tissuesहरू त्यहाँ present हुन्छ ferns मा चाहिँ है. अझै advance हुँदै जाँदैछ. Phanerogamia, like the seed bearing plants, okay, जुन चाहिँमा चाहिँ roots, leaves are well developed, they are well developed vascular structures. Xylem र phloem well developed हुन्छ है. Reproductive structure, flower हरू पुरा well developed हुन्छ. So this is Phanerogamia र यसलाई पनि हामी अझै अर्को सब डिभिजन, okay, डिभिजन जुन चाहिँ छ योलाई यसलाई पनि हामी we can subdivide, and then त्यसको सब डिभिजन चाहिँ के हुन्छ, one is gymnosperm and the angiosperms. Okay, gymnospermae, angiospermae. Gymnospermae मा चाहिँ it has naked seeds, and angiosperms मा चाहिँ the seeds are covered. So यसरी हामीले phylum or kingdom. Okay, so this is the next taxon. So we have covered kingdom, we have covered phylum or division. Now we're moving to class, then we'll move to order, family, genus, species with examples of each. So the next one, that is class. हामीले हेर्यो भने class जस्तो यहाँनेरि class को example दिएको छ primata. Primata, primatesहरू जुन चाहिँ हामी human beings पनि primate features. We have front facing eyes, we have flat nails like this. Okay, these are primate features. So अरु पनि थुप्रो primate featuresहरू छ. Examples primates को भने monkeys, gorillas, gibbons, humans, यो सबै हामी primates मा आउँछौं भने यो order this class is primata. And अर्को त्यस्तै प्रकारले के भन्छ class चाहिँ carnivora छ है. Sorry, not class but order. Okay, order यहाँनिर हाम्रो primata छ र carnivora छ है. Carnivora मा चाहिँ carnivorous like dogs, cats, tigers. So यो भयो orders है. र यो ordersहरू चाहिँ फेरि कुन चाहिँ क्लासमा आउँछ भन्दा चाहिँ mammalia, class mammalia. Okay, class mammalia. यो भित्र फेरि के पर्दो रहेछ, कुन अर्डर पर्दछ, प्राइमेटा, कार्निभोरा, अरु पनि छ थुप्रो, तर यहाँ जस्ट दुईटा एक्जाम्पल मात्रै देखाइदिएको छ. Okay, so it comes under class mammalia. Then moving further, the next taxonomic category, that is order. Okay, order मा हामीले हेर्यौं भने चाहिँ जस्तो एउटा एनिमल्स र एउटा प्लान्ट्स को एक्जाम्पल देखाइदिएको छु. अब कार्निभोरा जुन चाहिँ order कार्निभोरा जो अघि हामीले यहाँ माथि पनि पढ्यौ है, order कार्निभोरा. सो यो कार्निभोरा मा चाहिँ के पर्छ भन्दा चाहिँ फेलिडी. ओके, लाइक फर एक्जाम्पल क्याट्स र क्यान्सिडी, वुल्फ, फक्स यस्तोहरु चाहिँ यिनीहरुको सिमिल्यारिटीज हेरेर फेरि यिनीहरुको सिमिल्यारिटी बेस्ड अन देयर सिमिल्यारिटीज दे पुट अन्डर कार्निभोरा. ओके, र अब प्लान्ट्स मा हेर्यो भने चाहिँ ओके, प्लान्ट्स मा हेर्यो भने चाहिँ पोलिमोनियल्स. ओके, जुन चाहिँ मा भित्र चाहिँ के पर्छ भन्दा चाहिँ कुन फ्यामिलीज, प्लान्ट को फ्यामिलीजहरु पर्छ भन्दा चाहिँ सोलानेसी, कन्भल्भुलेसी. ओके, यो फ्यामिलीजहरु चाहिँ सोलानेसी इज द पोटेटो फ्यामिली, कन्भल्भुलेसी भनेको चाहिँ हाम्रो स्वीट पी को फ्यामिली है. र यो चाहिँ फेरि कुन चाहिँ फ्यामिलीमा आउँदछ प्लान्ट फ्यामिली भन्दा पोलिमोनियलियस. ओके, र you one is example from plants, the other one is example from animals. So based on their similarities, Felidae and Cancidae are grouped under Carnivora, and based on their similarities, the two plant families Solanaceae and Convolvulaceae are grouped in Polymonales. Okay, so this is the order. So you भयो order. Then we move further. Then the next taxonomic category, that is family. Family हेऱ्यो भने चाहिँ those organisms which are of related genera, they are related to each other in terms of many aspects. They are grouped together. Like for example, I've given you examples of 3 families. One is Solanaceae, potato family, Petunia, and Dhatura. तीनटा जुन चाहिँ species, तीनटा जुन चाहिँ genus छ, त्यो चाहिँ फेरि कुन चाहिँ फ्यामिलीमा ग्रुप भएको छ, Solanaceae एउटै फ्यामिलीमा आउँछ. ओके, Solanaceae is a plant family. त्यो भित्र चाहिँ तीनटा genus. ओके, there are others also. र यहाँ चाहिँ तीनटा example दिएको छ र यो चाहिँ केले गर्दा हामीले एक जग्गामा ग्रुप गरेको छ, based on certain similarities. Of course, there are differences between Solanum and Petunia, but also there are certain similarities based on which we can put them under Solanaceae. Similarly, in case of animals, for example, Panthera, lion, tiger, etc., and also Felis, that is cats. Okay, यो दुईटालाई चाहिँ हामी फेरि कहाँनेरि ग्रुप गर्नु सक्छ, कुन चाहिँ फ्यामिलीमा ग्रुप गर्नु सक्छ. Okay, so this is family, so we can put it them under the family Felidae. Okay, so this is concept of family. Then the next, the second last taxon, that is genus. Okay, genus, all those species that are related, closely related to each other, they are grouped into one, okay, genus. So it has many similar characteristics or features. So यो genus, different genus मा चाहिँ similarities हरू छ. जस्तो यहाँनेर example दिएको छ, potato, tomato, brinjal. Okay, यो सबै तीनटैमै, of course they are these are 3 different genus, and यसमा चाहिँ के छ, अब similarities भएकोले गर्दा चाहिँ हामीले एउटा फ्यामिली सोलानम फ्यामिलीमा हामीले त्यसलाई हालेको छ है, सोलानममा आउँछ. सो र it belongs to the family Solanaceae, as we already said. Okay, Solanum. So तीनटामा of course differences पनि छ, तर similarities पनि छ. Okay, then the lowest category here in a from highest to lowest, okay, is that of species. So species, so organisms with most of the similarities are put into one species. So organisms, there are so many different species we said. Okay, so यो species हरूमा चाहिँ maximum similarities हरू छ. Okay, of course it is not that there are no differences between individuals of the same species. Like हामी Homo sapiens humans भित्र पनि हामी individual differences हरू छ, minor differences are there, but the similarities are more than the differences. So therefore we put them into one species, कुनै पनि organism. Like for example, here I have shown 3 different species. यहाँनेरि Solanum tuberosum, that is potato, Solanum nigrum, Solanum khasianum भन्ने तीनटा यहाँनेरि species देखाइदिएको छु. र यो first को चाहिँ Solanum चाहिँ generic name हो, we already studied at the start of this class, and the second part of the name, this is specific name. Okay, tuberosum, nigrum र khasianum. Okay, यो तीनटा चाहिँ के हो, this is the name of the species. Okay, so there is difference between Solanum tuberosum and Solanum nigrum, but at the same time there are similarities, so it can be grouped into which family, the Solanum family. So त्यस्तै प्रकारले हामीले हेर्यो भने potato, tomato, brinjal, यो के भन्छ, Solanum nigrum, Solanum khasianum सबै केमा आउँछ, Solanum species मा आउँछ, र यो चाहिँ फेरि genus मा आउँछ, र यो चाहिँ फेरि कुन फ्यामिलीमा पर्छ भन्दा चाहिँ Solanaceae family of plants. Okay, I hope boys I am clear. So if you have any questions, you can put it up in my personal not personal WhatsApp, the group. Okay, WhatsApp biology WhatsApp group, so that others will also get the benefit, and I'll be answering so that it will help others also. Okay, so with this I would like to thank all of you for your patience. And with this we'll wind up today's class. Thank you so much, boys.